Serious time.
I know. I can do this.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
I know, but Kristen knows me too well.
All right. Well, we won't hold that against her.
Hey.
Do we all have to?
Continuing on with our candidate interviews here, we have a counselor at large, Kristen Mello, in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right.
Great to have you back. We haven't had you in a while.
It's been a minute.
Good to see you.
All right. All right. I'm going to have you just aim that microphone up a little bit more. Okay, good.
How's that? Is that
All right.
better?
Yeah. That way that we can combat the mask, and it's perfectly great that you're wearing that. So the first off and foremost, who are you? What do you do?
I'm Kristen Mello. I am a city councilor at large here in the city of Westfield. I am just wrapping up my second term, so this is my fourth year. I'm also the director and co-founder of RAFT, Westfield Residents Advocating for Themselves. We were founded in February of 2017. We have been working on addressing the PFAS contamination issue here in the city since that time. I was born and raised in Westfield, went to the public schools here, went away to UMass Amherst for my chemistry degree, graduated there with honors, went to the University of Delaware for a master's in analytical chemistry, focusing on data analysis and chemometrics, the super nerdy kind, and then went to work in industry and was disillusioned with the ethics there, and then came back home to New England. And so for the last few years, I've been here helping my brother raise his kids. And then when we found out about the water contamination issue, that just sort of sucked me in.
Gotcha.
Yep.
All right. Number 2. Sorry about that. Roads, schools, and public safety are all important, right? How can cuts be made now that ESSER and ARPA funds are no longer in play? Obviously, I'm talking about the upcoming budget.
So I've been thinking a lot about this, and a lot of the ESSER money was used for health supports that I think we might be able to support with other monies from other places rather than the city of Westfield coffers. So what I would hope is that we can find a way to piece together the supports that we need to continue the programs that we have, but using other money sources to do it.
Right. That was quick.
That what?
Mm-hmm.
And succinct.
All right. Okay. We'll go on to number 3. A couple of these coming up. We'll make sure we spend more time on, but if we do roll through all these rather quickly, in the end, I do give you a soapbox just to.
Well, you know I take them with me. I have them right here.
Yeah. So number 3 is, and this is what some folks might call the gotcha question or the tough one. No one's had an issue with it. Put these 3 in order: roads, schools, safety.
And by safety, do you only mean like police budget, or do you mean
Police, fire, safety. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah, WEMA would be in there, but that's a very small part of the
so
budget.
when you look in the Middle East right now, what you know is that without safety, you have nothing. Right? Without safety, you have nothing. So safety does sort of morally come first. But Westfield is a fairly safe place, and we don't have a lot of trouble in that area in terms of like actual threat. So right now I would put schools first and public safety, but not so much
Yeah.
fire and police, but literally flood safety. I'd
Okay.
put flood safety way before. So if we could just expand your definition of safety, public health and flood control would be my number one thing, and then
It
schools.
can really be what you interpret it as far as safety is
Yeah.
concerned. It's what you see
Yeah.
the needs as keeping people safe.
Yeah,
So that
I
would
am
be-
really satisfied with our police and fire. I think that their staffing can be moved a bit, and I do believe that the police need a new building. It's moldy in there, right? But with respect to safety, I think that flood control and public health are first, and very important, and that safety needs to be taken care of, and it needs to be addressed. After that, schools, because without taking care of our schools, our city is not as attractive. Our adults are not educated enough to be critical thinkers, And I really think that we can put more effort into making sure that we're not teaching to a test and that we're teaching all of our citizens to think critically about everything for themselves. And then I'd put roads. Yeah.
She mentioned the police department being moldy, right?
It is.
Yeah. So, question number 4 is multiple locations have been suggested for the new police department building. What is your ideal location and why?
My ideal location has not been brought up yet. I would put it on the north side.
Okay.
We have been told that because our units are on patrol, that the actual police station does not need to be centralized. I would make sure it's on the bus line. I would make sure that, I don't think it would be wrong to have a public safety center near where the public safety dispatch is.
Okay.
I think we could probably coordinate some things. I think it is incredibly short-sighted to put it in a floodplain.
All right.
We flood. Bad idea.
Okay.
That's been mentioned. I've heard that mentioned, and it did flood. It flooded very badly in '55. Who's to say that can't happen again?
I would hope that I hope we have the foresight to put our emergency services in a place that is not in danger. It seems to me that if we have an emergency, we need our emergency services to operate completely and without everyone lifting things off the ground first.
Okay. Good.
Interesting.
And you're welcome to take plenty of time with this one because I know you are. We have the time for this. We have been tempted by data centers and distribution centers and whatnot who want to come into the north side of our city where there's either open land or existing buildings. They would contribute to the tax base, but it appears it is difficult to make anyone feel welcome or wanted. What are your thoughts on this?
I see that smile, Ken. So here's the thing. I don't want to quote like the Lorax or anything, but if we destroy every tree and every drop of water in the city, there will be nothing left for us to drink or breathe. If a company wants to come to Westfield, and if we want to be welcoming those companies, we need to do the math about what hosting them here really costs us. If a company wants to come here and clear cut dozens of acres of forest, I would hope that they offer conserving dozens of acres of forest, because otherwise they are destroying our breathable air and causing more flooding because trees absorb water. So it would be easier to make people feel welcome if they were coming in here and saying, we are not going to destroy your environment, and not be lying about that. But when things don't add up, it's because you're not seeing all the math. And when you do the math on the data center, like former Councilor Flaherty did, you found out that we do not get the tax revenue that we could because of the deal we made. Or when you do the math on the emissions for the emergency backup diesel generators that each building would have required, 13 of them, and 10 buildings, that's 130 backup generators, all of which have to cycle for at least 1 hour per day. And backup emergency diesel generators do not have the same emission standards as a diesel truck. So don't tell me you're saving us by not having the trucks in and then bring in 130 backup diesel generators running all day. We're not being honest about the situation. We're not being clear about the math. And when we are, I will be happy to welcome people that will bring in tax revenue that will not destroy the air and the water. We already have problems with both. I will be happy to welcome people who would not destroy what we have left.
I knew you would appreciate that question.
I appreciate that question.
Okay. what is it, 9:43? We're making good time, but we also have plenty of time here, so there's no need to rush. Number 6. Already at number 6. Excuse me. The Turnpike interchange is a mess, and the backup going westbound, exiting in Westfield, can be dangerous. Right? Excuse me. Blandford resident said no to another exit. Now we've heard of, putting a slip ramp down by Savage. Why is it taking so long to correct this issue, in your opinion?
Probably the same reason it took so long to get work started on the Coles Bridge, right? I mean, it's hard to get things moving. It's hard, especially to get state projects moving west of Worcester. Right. And so, and when you do, the question is, do you want to fix the traffic backup or the bridge that has, nothing holding it up? So, yes, fix the bridge. I think that the slip ramp up by Savage Arms, a very good idea. I'd like to see it move forward. I'd like to see it move forward faster. But am I the only one that thinks that they're planning to put a connector down by Toccoa? Am I the only one that sees the land acquisition down there as the opportunity for an on and off ramp?
I haven't heard that.
Okay, so in the last few years, if you look at a Google map or the city GIS, right, in aerial, for the last few years, the land on either side, right by where that bridge and Route 20 come together near the Russell line, there's been acquisitions of territory there.
Yes, there have been.
And it seems to me that somebody's planning to put a little on and off there. Maybe not tomorrow, but it seems to me that somebody's positioning that.
I have heard something about putting it up beyond me. So maybe that's what
You see what right, because it's so close to 20 that, I mean, the thing is it would be up in the air and scary as,
Right.
bleep that, Pete, right? But I mean,
and I think that's been floating around for a while. I hadn't heard about the land acquisition. I know the city's picked up some land. I think the Historic Commission picked up some land.
yeah,
We picked something.
we're right along the river.
I don't remember. Yes.
I have a feeling about that. It's just a suspicion.
Yeah, I don't
But
know.
I probably would never use it because I don't do the over heights with,
Yeah, I'm trying to.
I don't know
picture
how they
getting over
would
the
get
river
the
there.
access because
Right, would they have that park, right? The Strathmore Park is down.
Yeah.
And then they have that area on Russell Mountain, right? I think it's supposed to be set up as like if you have to like lose energy or something, when your truck breaks.
Strathmore was just bought.
I don't know what it's like when you go up. What's the route that goes up towards Otis? What is
23?
23?
See, I think that somebody somewhere has decided that getting the Hilltown traffic on and off without coming through downtown Westfield is going to alleviate a lot of the bottleneck up there.
That's part of the problem.
That's my thought. But I haven't heard anything real about it, but that's my suspicion.
All right.
It is sometimes, too, an issue getting on the pike coming up Clay Hill. That it's brief, it's not all day, and it's not for long periods of time. But when I was headed for school, sometimes the jug handle did help. That did help a great deal getting you on the pike instead of taking that left. But I still see people taking that left. It's okay. But that's an issue. Not as bad as it was.
I've seen people
It's
ready to take a left and then shoot across me 3 lanes to not take that left.
Yeah, 5 minutes will change your whole day going up Clay Hill.
Oh, I know. I went that way for 40 years.
Right.
It was interesting.
Number 7, additional pickleball courts are being built in Westfield. Although used by many, it is still a small portion of the population who use these. Are there better ways to spend this money?
Are there better ways to spend the money?
Some of these questions came from social media.
So I can think of a lot of things that I would put above pickleball that are not parks or recreation related, right? I could think of a lot of emergency things where I would spend money first. However, in terms of spending parks money, the pickleball serves a lot of people who otherwise don't have that space. We have a lot of space for children. We have a lot of space for sports teams. We don't have a lot of outdoor rec space for adults that are adult-oriented. And this is one, and it has rehabilitated dilapidated structures that were not being used. So I don't hate it. But if I were able to spend that same bulk of money on other things, I would probably do other things first.
Could I ask where they're building more? I don't know. I'm not a pickleball.
I believe Hubbard Street is one location.
I know over here they did. And these are always filled, Kristen.
Yes.
And when I come up here in the summer, because I'm at Franklin Avenue in the summer, 8 o'clock in the morning, there's crazy people out there doing that.
Yeah, I don't understand why we're not taking better advantage and having, I don't understand why we don't have, micro businesses that are catering to the influx that, would be useful, but I think we could take better advantage.
For what it's worth, Southwest is going to put one behind the town hall and a couple up at Wally Park.
It's everywhere. It's the new tennis.
Is it a fad, or do you think it's going to stay? I don't know. I'm not familiar with pickleball, so I don't.
I don't like picking fads and non-fads. I just won't go there. Number 8. What is your hot button issue?
My hot button issue? Me?
Yep, you.
We don't know.
I have to pick one?
One.
Okay, can I be clever about it?
You can do whatever you want.
All right,
Your time.
it's an acronym.
Okay.
Okay, and it's PFAS.
All right.
And it's public health, flood control, accountability, and science.
I see what you did there.
That's 41,000 people were exposed to cancer-causing chemicals. Our public health department and Board of Public Health don't talk about it.
All right.
They don't talk about it. And the reason they don't talk about it is because mayors lead from the front. The council can't make people do things. So our city needs to talk about things. The fact that most people don't know that the Little River Levee goes all the way to the bike trail, that it's more than 500 feet, it is 2,500 feet, and that trees should not be growing in it because when strong winds come, trees knock down and the roots will rip apart the levee. Why aren't we talking about it? That the fact that we raise taxes and fees before making sure that we're collecting all the money we're due, the fact that we talk about how great the data center is without anybody doing the math about the air pollution that it would require, we're not accountable for our choices, and we're not using the math and the science that we have available to us in order to make better decisions. Those are my hot button issue.
All right.
And you said I could use an acronym, so that was on you.
You can do whatever you want. It's your 25 minutes. I'm just trying to allow you to make the best time of it. So there's 2 questions left. We've got 6.5 minutes.
Okay.
All right. And I'll tell you what the last 2 are.
Okay.
And you can just do with that how you want. Number 9 is going to be the most important question. Why did you decide to be a city councilor? And then number 10 is your final words, where you get to go up on your soapbox.
Ooh.
So
That's all the same.
yeah, right now it's going to be coming up on 9:54. All right, 5 minutes for you to just say what you want to say, need to get out. But before you do so, you have to let us know why you decided to become a city councilor.
So that was because people asked me. And thank you for having me back and for asking the questions and for hosting these, because it's really important for people to get to know all of us before they cast their vote. So I just want to make sure I say thank you.
Okay.
I ended up running in 2019 because people took out papers and got 50 signatures and said, here, we want you to run for council and mayor. And the reason that that happened, and you were there that night, is that when the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry came to Westfield to talk about our PFAS exposure assessment, to talk about taking our blood and finding out whether or not we had been more exposed to PFAS than the average American, we had a standing room only crowd up at the intermediate school. And as the residents got up to do their Q&A, the mayor, the law department, and the water department walked out. They walked out. When the residents got up to talk about how they had entire neighborhoods who had all had the same thyroid surgery, when they talked about, the water and what happened, and they talked about people who had cancer in their family, our city officials left the building.
Who were those officials at that time who walked out?
Well, there was a former mayor and a former DPW director and a former law department city solicitor, none of which are with us now. One of them works for a separate city department, but none of them are in leadership now. The next morning, the papers were taken out. Within a couple weeks, they were all signed, and they said, Kristen, will you please accept these, sign the bottom, and run? And I did.
Right.
And that's how I got to be a city councilor. That's how. So soapbox for another couple minutes. So this is the first and only time ever that on a Westfield city election, people can be in more than one place on the ballot. I will be listed, my name will be listed under mayor and city councilor at large. People can vote for me in both places and not invalidate their ballot. People can choose not to vote for me at all. People can vote for me for one. You do you. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I would like to ask you for your vote, both of them. But if I'm not your cup of tea, you don't have to. If what I'm saying resonates with you, please vote for me in both places, because even if we don't win mayor, we will send a very strong message to the mayor and the council that the city needs another direction. I originally was not going to enter for mayor this year. And then some decisions were made that were just not okay. They were not okay, and I wanted people to have another choice. And so they do. I believe we should be using the contamination in our city to drive economic development, to bring resources here, health resources, scientific resources, education resources, a science center. We need to be having the DOD putting grants here to investigate ways to help clean up, because those don't exist yet. And that R&D is going to happen somewhere, and we may as well have it happen here. If those research dollars are going to go somewhere, let's bring them here. Let's use sustainable economic development, environmental protection, and remediation as our engine to go into a new future, where new businesses, new tax dollars come into the city without destroying what's here. That is what I want to do. And if people would like to do that with me, I would ask that you vote for me twice on November 7th.
How do you do that? Not vote, but how do you how do you get all these businesses in?
Oh, well, thank you for asking. So we have been applying for grants with the Restoration Advisory Board, with the DOD, every year that we've been together. On October 26th, the first one is going to bring their project to us, where they explain all about the profile and the fate and the transport of the PFAS plume. If that scientific analysis shows that that PFAS plume contaminated our wells, we can get our money back.
Okay.
We need to be asking the DOD, the EPA, the NIH for these research dollars. We need to apply for the EPA grants that we have not been applying for. There's money out there for us. We're just not taking it. We need to talk about our problems openly and ask for the help we need.
I got you. Take a look at that. We're just about at the end. City Council at Large, Kristen Mello, I want to thank you for coming in this morning and spending some time with us.
Thank you, Kristen. It's good to see you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's good to be seen.
When do we get out to vote?
November 7th, between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Early voting is the 28th, is it?
I'm not sure.
I believe it's the 28th, 9 to 5.
We can verify that by going to the City
City
of Westfield website at cityofwestfield.org.
That's right. And if you feel like, you might get sick or you might end up with, kids who are homesick and you can't get out to vote, you can always do your mail-in ballot. And if you don't send it in ahead of time and you are able to vote in person, you can just shred that and go vote in person. There's nothing stopping you.
All right, great. Kristen, once again, thank you.
Thank
Thank you, Kristen.
We'll see you next week.